Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé I won't help pay the mortgage? The first 2 parts of this story was posted a month ago, but I'm compiling the whole story into this video. Timestamps in the comment section. Original post. For some background, I, 29 female, and my fiancé, 30 male, have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020 and I lost my job around the same time. Our lease to our apartment was up, and my grandma offered for us to move in with her, so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I had thrown the idea of going to school out there, and everyone agreed it was a good idea. My fiancé paid for it and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. I did part-time for a couple semesters. My fiancé has been making $90,000 a year for the past couple years and $70,000 when we first moved in. He saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school and we could buy a house together. We've been looking at houses more seriously for a past couple months and found one we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker, and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him and only him on the mortgage and the deed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting, but afterwards I told him I thought we were buying the house together and I'd pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage, but my name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that would mean I'd have no right to the house. And he said he knew? He said since he saved the 40% down, that it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do, that I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership, and if he just wants his own place, fine, but I'm not paying for it. He called me a bitch, saying that he paid for everything for the past few years, including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child so we didn't have to pay for daycare, and that ended up saving us money, since I would have been only able to work part-time. He said he didn't care, and I need to pay for half, since I already agreed to it. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay the mortgage? Edit to add. Originally, we were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months, while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to go to school, so I'd make more money, and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said we should stay with her until I finish school so we can save up for a life together. My fiancé and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. For those of you saying him paying for my schooling would be more expensive than rent, my schooling in total costed $17,000. Across 5 years, that's $3,400 a year on average. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. He got free rent and free childcare thanks to your family, which allowed him to save that money. If your name isn't on that house, you shouldn't put a dime into it. I'm honestly rethinking getting married at this point. This feels so out of left field. He's literally never treated me this way before. I thought going to school and taking care of our son while not having to pay rent would have been an equal trade to him being able to save money honestly. Couples therapist here. Do not marry someone you aren't in sync with for kids, parenting, money, religion, and managing each other's family. Or someone who calls you the B word when they don't get their way. Not the a-hole. If your name isn't on the deed, don't pay the mortgage. Honestly, I'd debate moving into a house that was just his, and then getting married. If he wants help with the mortgage, then he has to accept that you will also own the house. This was the original agreement. This is the first I've heard of me not being on the deed or mortgage. Info. Can you guys not sign a contract where he owns 70% of the equity and you 30%? He puts down 40%. The remaining 60% is split between both of you and you both pay the mortgage? He is an a-hole for how he spoke to you. It's not that I'm against doing something like this, but it feels like he's already thinking of screwing me in a divorce and we're not even married. Now for the update. So first, thank you to everyone who commented. A lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those who weren't, I got to see a perspective of how my fiancé might be feeling, so thank you for that too. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job, and so we could save some money. This was the beginning of the lockdown, and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I had brought up finishing my degree, and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiancé said he'd pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or daycare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship, so he ended up only having to pay, on average, $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiancé was going to do. She said this. For the update, I told my fiancé we needed to talk about this arrangement, and I asked why he changed his mind all of the sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair, but he's now putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money, so the house should be his, and his alone, until and unless I put down 40% also. I asked if he'd consider a prenup that would give him the 40% he put down, and we'd split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down, while also giving me equity I'd be paying for. He said he'd have to think about it, but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on a title that badly. This one he could barely afford with just his income. Not sure if he'd even be approved for the mortgage on his own, to be honest. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we get married. He said no, that we didn't need therapy, and I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of the conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant. He listened attentively to every random thing I wanted to talk about. He treated me with the utmost respect. He was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it'd hurt our child. I love him so much. I don't know what happened. I would not marry this man or buy a house with him. Time to set up some co-parenting guidelines and go your separate ways. He showed you who he is. Believe him. Yep, see a lawyer about custody, child support, and get a third-party co-parenting app. Because anyone that say OP needs to just listen to him won't be the easiest person to co-parent with. I still don't get how he thinks the 40% down payment is all his, when he saved it by living rent-free at grandma's. Your offer was very generous, OP. I would end this thing and sue him for back rent or breach of promise. This whole thing stinks. Glad you got an education out of it anyway. I don't know how he has any percent down if he can't qualify for a mortgage without her. We were just talking to a mortgage broker. Nothing has been signed yet. She asked if it would be both of us on the application, and that's when he said no, it'd just be him. I was just saying, considering the price of the house, I doubt he'd be approved off his income alone. OP, you need to run. This can get very dangerous very fast. This man is desperately trying to overpower and control every aspect of your life. It starts with it being his house, then it's his money, his child, and you're nothing. I don't want to scare you, but it feels as though he baby-trapped you. Meaning even if you decide to leave him, you'll be tied by the child you share. He doesn't want to do therapy because he is aware of his behavior. He knows what he's doing. The therapist will know his true intentions and expose them. He's trying to gaslight you into thinking he's not being abusive. Please get separate accounts and stay at your grandmother's place until you can get a place away from him. We do have separate accounts, thankfully. He'll have zero access to my money once I start my job in a couple weeks. Now for the second update. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You've shown me I'm not alone in this, and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision not to pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed. Thank you. Anyways, tonight he and I got to talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup I mentioned in my last update. So I told him my final offer was couples therapy and getting married before we buy a house. I told him we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said, I'm not entitled to any of his money, and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said, fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him, and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it, called me a bitch and a gold digger, and told me I owe him $30,000. I don't know where he got this number from. He said I'm used up, and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting, yelling at me, for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten in with the manosphere or red pill content, you were right. I looked at who he subscribed to on YouTube, and sure enough, I saw some notable channels of the sort. Safe to say he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man I fell in love with is gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said he was saving his money, and he was buying a house. He also said on more than one occasion he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector stuff. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recent, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a crap show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. Keep the voicemails and messages he sends. You may need them. Get ready to go to court to custody and child support. Do not be alone with this man. Grandma is awesome. But if he comes back and is yelling and acting up, call the cops. Yeah, props to your grandma for sticking up for you. She is amazing. Yeah, if Fiancé is asking for money, remind him that grandma would want back rent. Your life is not a crap show. Imagine if you moved into that house, paid for a few years, and actually married him. That would be a colossal crap show. I'm so sorry you are going through this, but you found out before taking these next big steps. You have your degree, family support, and your kid. You will be fine. Please talk to a good lawyer, custody, child support, and save and document everything. Thank you, you're right. It could have been a whole heck of a lot worse, lol. Hugs. He might try to make things up in a few days. Don't forget he's already shown you how he really feels and what he really thinks. Anything he does without proving he did the work to change is him manipulating you. He wants you dependent and obedient. You need to file for child support and get with lawyer ASAP. It blows my mind that these guys ruin their lives over a podcast. I mean, seriously, before all this, he was the only person I've ever met that matched me so well. We had similar temperaments, hobbies, outlooks on life, and aspirations. It truly felt like a perfect match. But he's made his choice. Nothing I can do about it now. Third update a month later. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask for an update, so here it is. A few days after my last update, he texted me and asked if we could meet to talk. I agreed, and left my kid with my grandma and met him at a coffee shop. He started with an apology and went on about how that wasn't him, and he's a good guy. He just drank too much and lost control. He asked me if I wanted to get married still, and I said no. He asked if he could move back in so we could work on things, and I said no. He even offered to do couples therapy, and I said I'd have to think about it. He got quiet and asked if I ever even loved him. I said I did, but I can't handle the whole woe is me thing he's been doing. I said I would have never tried to screw him over in the case of a divorce, and that if I didn't love him, I would have never had a kid with him. I said he needs to do individual therapy before I'd consider doing couples therapy with him. He got angry and yelled that I needed therapy more than he did, and he refused to do it without me. He got up and said he's going to take me to court and fight for full custody, and that I'd never see a dime from him. I'm assuming he meant child support. Since then, he tried dropping by unannounced to take our kid. My grandma's lawyer friend, technically her friend's son, told me that since we don't have a custody agreement in place, it's a free-for-all, and he could legally take him across state lines. He said it can be much more difficult to get him back, especially if we don't know where he is. So I didn't let him take our kid, but said he's welcome to come visit, but he's not leaving with him until we have a custody arrangement in place. That ended about as well as you could imagine. My grandma told me I can stay as long as I need, and I got my kids signed up for daycare. That's all for now. I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. You need to get a lawyer's stat and discuss the situation with the daycare. You don't want him showing up to the daycare and taking your son without you knowing. 100%. I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. OP, this is not an option. This person is too mercurial. You need a lawyer. And to ask for parenting classes, all communication through a parenting app, no interstate or international travel, fair visitation for him. It is just too much of a risk to do this outside the court system. Absolutely this. Court order is needed. If I was OP, my child would not be in a daycare until after a custody agreement, with restrictions on the dad to not take off with the kid. He has already threatened to do this, so I would not risk having my child kidnapped by their father. Last story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my boyfriend after he chose our supposed future kids over me? I, 21 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 22 male, for 4 years now. We recently started talking about our future together, and the kids issue came up. He has known for a long time now that I've always been iffy about kids. He, on the other hand, insists that he likes kids and would like to have them in the future. This issue has often caused a massive strain on our relationship, but we've chosen to cross that bridge when we get there. So, this past Saturday, the issue cropped up and the conversation turned into a sore argument. My boyfriend said that living without kids would make his life pointless, and he feels like he would resent me in the future if I made him do that. I listened to his argument, and it made sense. After all, we're both young and have some more time before we get there. So, naturally, I'd assume that maybe I'd change my mind in the future and we'd be able to have those kids. I shared these sentiments with him, to which I got a positive response. But here's where things got heated. After I told my boyfriend that it would also be kind of unfair to force myself into having kids if I'm not prepared, he suddenly changed the tone and said he would have no choice but to dump me for someone that would give him kids. This came as a surprise, because I had assumed that he only wanted kids with me and would also try and view things from my perspective. I felt so bad because I expected the same support I had shown him when he told me he would resent me for not having them. I explained my disappointment, to which he said that he was equally disappointed at me for being selfish. I got mad and broke up with him then. We haven't talked since. So, am I the a-hole for leaving? Now for the comments. You're doing the right thing by leaving. I stayed with someone who wanted different things for 6 years, thinking love would be enough. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Kids are a fundamental compatibility issue, and you're smart to recognize that at 21. I think this sums up my feelings. I've always believed that our love would be enough to overcome such obstacles, and it was sort of a rude awakening for me on how things panned out. Kids or no kids isn't an obstacle to get over. It's almost as big an incompatibility as a straight woman trying to date a gay man. People wanting kids and people who don't want kids should never date. That's an excellent comparison and should be highlighted. It's really not a compromise issue. The amount can be compromised, 1 versus 3 for example, or the when, before 30 versus after 30. But if one absolutely wants kids and one absolutely does not, it's not possible to work out, and continuing just prolongs the inevitable. The two of you are not compatible. Sorry. It's best if you separate and find people that have the same future plans, or are at least able to speak about the future without emotional threats. Do not stay with someone that wants kids if you are unsure if you do. It will lead to heartbreak for both.